know, you think of that thing that you said really well, and you want to all that sort of thing. Okay, so we are now recording. Okay, let me share screen.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yep, go ahead.
So when you're saying interactive film, do you mean stuff like the Black Mirror movie, like that type of thing, or?
Broadly speaking, yes.
Okay.
Bandersnatch. We will be talking about Bandersnatch, yeah. So but as you'll see, Bandersnatch is the last stop in our journey, because Bandersnatch is an example. It's a reinvention of a 1980s choose your own adventure novel, kind of warts and all. And it's utterly horrific in many ways, while being very clever. Show you is things you can do which are actually good. So hopefully that will be a bit different. So David, shall I go through the
yeah, let's go from the top.
Let's go,
yeah,
okay,
let's go from
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
From there.
All right.
Perfect.
So fine. So module introduction. That's what we are looking at now. Just one thing about the documents that we'll be looking at. So video games talk a lot about narrative design documents. You'll be seeing some video game style narrative design documents. You'll be seeing then for all the films that I'll be showing you, you'll be showing kind of the interactive film equivalent, which is two scripts. There's a shoot script and a coding script. The shoot script is written like a regular script to avoid confusing the cast and the crew. Cast and crew get very easily confused in interactive shoots, and we'll see how we can write a script that keeps them nice and relaxed. The coding script is written in coding style to avoid confusing developers and coders, who are also easily confused in a slightly different way. So this becomes your kind of one of your unique tools, because if they choose you as a writer, they get something which will actually work, because you know how to write for filmmakers and you know how to write for coders, which very few scriptwriters do, which is one reason why they can't write interactive films. So this afternoon, we are going to, can I select this text at all? No, never mind. So we are going to have a look at a genre which I call the hero on a mission genre. So this is an example of an interactive film which is of kind of proven effectiveness, both in terms of sort of, popular downloads and so on, but also it teaches. It saved a number of lives by teaching people what to do in a crisis. We have medical research that proves its effectiveness as a teaching method compared with far more expensive face-to-face teaching. And in the course of this, we will see one key principle, which is, and if there's only one sentence, this is the sentence that you remember from this course. This is the sentence to remember. Stories are very rarely interactive, but real life is always interactive. So if you're wondering how to make an interactive story that works, there's your starting point. Real life is always interactive. That's where you start. You start from real life, and then the interactions naturally fall into place because those are the interactions that you would do in real life. So we will have a look at the elements that make interactive stories effective, and we'll look at three key problems. And one of the reasons why there aren't more interactive films is that most writers don't know how to fix these problems. One is the puppet master problem. I'll explain what that is this afternoon. Another is the unmotivated choice problem. Another is the seen to unseen ratio problem, also known as the combinatorial explosion, also known as the inverted data pyramid of death. We will have it, and so we'll look at those and we'll look at solutions. So that again, you become the person to hire because you know the solutions to these problems, whereas most writers don't even know what the problem is there. So when they try and write an interactive script, they just fall straight into it. Okie doke. So then session 2, tomorrow, we'll look at different types, basic types of interaction with film, interacting before film content, around it, in it. We'll look at group interaction and a 5th mystery type of interaction, which will be revealed in class. We'll look at mechanisms, including button interaction, microphone interaction, accelerometer interaction, AI-driven interaction. So, for example, the film can react if the user smiles, and also shouting to the teacher. Now, we will have a look at, in a nice way. I mean, I know you would never dream of shouting at David, but this is in a positive, positive way. So, as a demonstration of which, we are going to play a genre example as a group in class. So we're going to play this film I made called Heart Class, which won an Emmy last week. And Heart Class is it's a sort of crisis simulator. It's a hero on a mission story. Someone's dropped dead with a cardiac arrest. It's up to you to save them. This will require advanced teamwork by you. And as a kind of bonus in terms of what you're learning, you'll be happy to hear that medical research shows that it teaches 46% more effectively than traditional CPR training. So not only will you learn about interactive filmmaking, you'll learn what to do if someone has a heart attack. So we'll play that to start with, and then you chew that over, and then the project for you for the afternoon is you pitch an interactive story idea for a hero on a mission story with at least one key decision point. So you pitch a basic idea for a story, and describe at least one good decision that would happen in that story. Yeah. So that's your thing to think about, sort of over lunch, and then afternoon, like 3:30, you present those projects. We brainstorm them, and we look at how they do relative to the key classic problems of interactive storytelling. I will, where appropriate, I will sort of talk about existing interactive films which parallel the ideas that you might have pitched. And we discuss those. For all of these, I should point out, if you want to talk about games as opposed to interactive films, that is also cool. So games are a different medium, but many of the same fundamental principles of how to make something that works will apply to games and to interactive films. Okay, so then we look at the assignment for the next session, which is you guys prepare a report on enviro-political films and demonstrations. So can I just come out of screen share mode? How many of you are interested in climate change? I can't see whether other people are putting up their hands. Jocelyn, are you interested in climate change?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. Jack is silent, but we take that as a yes. Albert, are you going to be the odd one out? Climate change?
I'll move to the laptop later, I promise. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not just
Okay.
nice.
Albert's claiming to be interested. I think we'll have to interrogate the sincerity of Albert. There's probably why you don't have your camera on, right, Albert? We don't want us to see your aircraft you have, sitting beside. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Just be like that, Albert. Ruin the planet. Don't care about our great. Anyway, that's great. All right, fantastic. So you will all be in a great position to do the next bit, which is prepare a report on enviropolitical films. So, in other words, political films which are about the environment. How many of you have seen? Has anyone seen 2040?
No.
Only Jocelyn is honest enough to unmute herself. And okay, has anyone seen what's the Al Gore one? Sorry, I've forgotten. An Inconvenient Truth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone been to an environmental protest for, Extinction Rebellion, Fridays for Future, anything like that?
Passport on my way home from uni last year.
Okay, that's a no. Yes, anyone else?
I went to a Fridays for Future protest in Switzerland.
Okay, there we go. Once again, Jocelyn is like way out ahead. Anyone else? No. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
afraid not.
So that is totally fine, of course. What we will be doing in the next session 3, is we'll be looking at the genre of enviropolitical films or political films generally, and also the genre, if you like, which is demonstrations and actions. So we'll explore some examples looking at linear films. So we'll look at a trailer for 2040, which came out a couple of months ago, I think, and is it's a nice new addition to the genre of, sort of environmentally aware films. We'll have a look at a trailer for Fahrenheit 911 or Fahrenheit 9/11, which is nothing to do with the environment, but is, I believe, the biggest, remains the biggest box office hit of any political film. But we'll also look at real-life interactive events. So, for example, Fridays for Future events. And Jocelyn, it'll be great to hear about your personal experience there. XR live demonstrations, XR short for Extinction Rebellion, and also XR thing called the Heading for Extinction talk, which is a just between us rather terrible talk that they give about the environment, where you just sit there and think, really, can these guys not communicate any better than this? And yeah, so then we'll have a look at some interactive film pieces that I've done. A thing called Very, which won a BAFTA, a thing called Very VR, which was nominated for a BAFTA, which are both sort of interactive films for kids that get kids closer to the environment and closer to wild animals, while also asking them questions all the way through about survival and extinction and so on. So it's not just pretty pictures of animals. You have to learn, in order to do the interaction. We'll have a practical activity, which is we will play an interactive film for groups, which called UAL Climate Emergency Interactive, which is basically it's a sneak preview. It hasn't yet been officially released. It's been played by about 100, 200 people so far. It's got fantastic feedback, and it's quite long. So the actual video is about 40 minutes, but depending on how talkative the audience are, it generally stretches out a lot longer. So an average session is about 90 minutes. It can go to 2 hours. Generally, I collapse with exhaustion after 2 hours, so I like to kind of wrap it up after 2 hours. But as you will see, it's a film which is designed in a new way. It's a film which is about drawing out the views of the audience and inviting the audience to express what they think. So the audience gets to know each other, the audience gets to say their views. And so hopefully you will find it interesting, because it's kind of taking it's going back to this basic idea, real life is always interactive. Get your inspiration from real life. The fundamental inspiration for it is not so much political films. The fundamental inspiration for it is demonstrations. And what Extinction Rebellion does extremely well, and one of the secrets of their success, is getting people into groups, getting people to talk with each other. And it sort of models that in a film context. I hope you will find that interesting. That will go, so depends how much you want to talk. There's only 4 of us, so it'll probably be 90 minutes rather than 2 hours. But I hope you find that interesting. So then the student project there is pitch an interactive story idea for a political or environmental film. I think that generally it is notable that young people these days are really politically motivated. The energy and anger which is going to demonstrations at the moment is quite different from what it was, in the 20th century. Well, in the 20th century, apart from, say, the 60s or 70s. So you guys are writing for other people of your age. How can you pitch an interactive story idea which other people, especially your age, not exclusively your age, but other people, but mainly them, which other people will go, yes, this is great. This is me. This is letting me express myself. This is grabbing hold of my ideas and making them real. Give us an idea about that. So in the afternoon, you present and brainstorm the student projects, see how they fall foul of the key problems of interactive storytelling. Now, as you probably guessed, Climate Emergency Interactive doesn't have characters, but it does have a very strong story arc. So the first bit is the climate emergency, and it's depressing as hell. It's a real downer. There's fires, there's floods, there's, all that stuff. But then we turn it round. So the second part is about the ecological emergency and climate justice, which of course is absolutely crucial for our audience, that they, then what I found again and again and again is that after the first part, people say, okay, is this all you're going to talk about? What about climate justice? What about, racism? What about capitalism? What about sexism? And I always say, just hang on a second, part 2. Okay, we get onto that in part 2. So that's what part 2 is about. Just a quick pop quiz. Who can tell me what intersectionality means? Jocelyn, what does intersectionality mean?
Intersexuality is
No, not sexuality. No, intersectionality.
Sectionality.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry, Jocelyn. I'm weird, but I'm not that weird. Intersectionality. No? Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Like the idea that all discrimination is sort of connected, or?
Sort of, kind of, yes. That's great. Sorry, who's that?
Jacob.
Jacob, okay. Yes. So just to be absolutely clear, I am not a climate activist. I also did not know what intersectionality means before I made the Climate Emergency interactive film. But you guys, you have to know what it means, okay? People your age are so political, and one of the first things they say is, what about intersectionality? So the Climate Emergency interactive features an acclaimed definition of intersectionality. Basically, as you know, you're right, Jacob. It's the idea that it's not just racism. It's that we all have our race, we have our gender, we have our age, we have our appearance, we have our ableism or otherwise, we have all sorts of other aspects, and these things all intersect to create unique kind of forms of discrimination or unique forms of privilege. So you're saying, but we're script writers. What the fuck do we need to know about this? You need to know. These days, everything is political. Everything is political. So that, the days are gone when you say, oh, well, I'm just going to write this wonderful story. Not anymore. It's all political, especially for people of your age and people who are younger. So, hence the importance of looking at politics. Okay, so you're saying, oh God, is it all going to be like, good works, goody stuff? Not necessarily. So, Jacob, you can relax. The assignment for the next section is prepare a report on interactive reality TV. Okay, so here we completely abandon the moral high ground and we go mass. So, session 4, we're looking at thumbs up, thumbs down mass interaction. So this relates to what is the most famous interaction in entertainment history?
Sorry, can you repeat that question? What did you say?
What is the most famous interaction in entertainment history?
Well, gladiator games, I would reckon.
Exactly. Of course, you guessed that because I already told it to you in the title of the session. But yes, you're right. Good answer. So exactly. So basically, the thumbs up, thumbs down interaction in gladiator games has not been used seriously, except by psychopathic individuals for about 1,500 years. Nevertheless, walk down the street, almost everyone will know what it is. It's almost universally known. It's so common in films and TV and so on. You'd really struggle to find someone who hadn't encountered it. And of course, that's exactly the same gameplay mechanic as the great hits of 21st century television, which are interactive reality TV. So mass interaction around a live event. American Idol, Big Brother, and a billion other spin-offs. So at the beginning, I mentioned the idea that, there's, for a lot of writers, there's this ridiculous idea that, oh, you want an audience to choose the ending of a film. And I said, no, interactive films do that. Of course, I was lying, because that's exactly what American Idol does. The audience chooses the ending of a film, just in the way that in a Roman gladiator arena, in a sense, the audience chose the ending of the gladiator battle. They chose whether the losing fighter lived or died. But of course, it's a genius kind of choice, right? Because, you imagine Big Brother if it was a game for one person. It would be the most boring game you could imagine. You would see, okay, here's the Big Brother house. Here are 12 people. Okay, they're irritating, sexy, boring, sexy, boring. Okay, I've got 2 sexy ones. I'll go with that sexy one. End of game. It would last about 2 minutes and it wouldn't be interesting at all. But because it's a mass interaction event, it's fascinating because it becomes something that's not just up to you, it's up to everybody around you. And so it has this incredible sort of emotional power. Now, as we'll see, though, the reality TV industry and the TV industry generally hates the idea of interaction. All TV people hate the idea of interaction. Hence the term reality TV, which covers a whole range of completely different genres. So reality TV includes American Idol and Big Brother, but also things like The Apprentice or you know, the Great British Bake Off or something like that, where the audience is completely passive. The audience has absolutely no input whatsoever into the output. So those are fundamentally different genres, but the TV industry never describes them as such because they love to move away from the idea that the audience will interact. And but we'll see that it can be it has been an incredibly, sorry, excuse me. It can be an incredibly important and powerful mechanism. And the fact that it's kind of faded away by the film and TV industry sort of trying to ignore it doesn't mean it's not powerful. It's still hugely powerful. And again, in terms of you and your careers, if you walk in with an idea for the next American Idol, then, please remember me and buy me lunch, okay? Because, and David as well. David and me, we both get lunch on you if you come up with the idea for the next American Idol. Okay, you're saying, but hang on a second. We want to write scripts. We want to write, like, films. How could you possibly apply this to making a film? I'm pleased you asked. So the genre example we'll play as a group in class is a film called Mercy or Justice. And Mercy or Justice is exactly taking the thumbs up, thumbs down mechanism and applying it to a gritty popcorn movie genre. Has anyone seen an Indonesian film called The Raid?
Yep.
Okay, so if you ever wondered what would happen if you made The Raid interactive, I've got the answer for you. So Mercy or Justice is shot literally in the slums of Jakarta and features fighting. So it is as far from, ethically, it is as far as you could possibly get from UAL Climate Emergency Interactive. It's down, it's dirty, it's a popcorn movie, it's a fighting movie, but people enjoy it. People have a lot of fun. It is never going to win an Emmy, I assure you. But from a dramatic point of view, it is interesting, I think. Okay, so after that, you pitch an idea for an interactive story idea for an interactive reality TV show or an interactive action movie using some variation of thumbs up, thumbs down. And in the afternoon, we'll have a look at the projects, we'll brainstorm them, we'll look at how they do compared to the problems of interactive storytelling. We'll look at interactive films or games which parallel the ideas pitched. And then we will prepare a report for the next section, which is interview-based TV shows and films based around conversations. So our next session is conversation and interviews. We'll look at an interactive film called Conversation with Sir Ian McKellen, which is one of the key distinctions, as we'll see, is eye contact or no eye contact. So Conversation with Sir Ian McKellen is an eye contact interactive film. So he is looking at you all the way through the film. So he asks you a question directly, and there he is talking about Shakespeare, and specifically Richard III and the to be or not to be speech. Not to be, sorry. Now is the Winter of Our Discontent speech, beg your pardon, from Richard III. We'll also have a look at a conversation with Julie Walters, now Dame Julie Walters. Again, that's an eye contact all the way through conversation. She's just talking about her life and whether she was ever filmed by a naked cameraman. You see, we did manage to get a little bit of attention there. Okay, so then we will move on to a quite different thing, playing an example. We'll look at a film called Real Talk About Suicide. So this is an interactive film which it's not an eye contact conversation. basically, it's a conversation between two guys. One of them is feeling suicidal and is at risk of putting his feelings into action. The other guy is a flatmate who doesn't know him very well, and you are controlling the actions of the flatmate during this conversation, and your mission is to turn the other guy round, is to get him out of his suicidal feelings and make him safe for now. And it is a very dramatic piece. It quite often makes people cry. So yeah, so we'll be looking at that, and then we'll play that together as subject to health and safety checks. Then we will, as with all these things, we'll look at the narrative design documents for them, the shoot script, the coding script, and then the project is pitch an interactive story idea for an interactive film or a game based around a conversation. Because what we'll see is that conversation is the fundamental, most simple form of interaction. Animals have conversations. So if you're looking for an idea for like a simple, easy to execute idea for an interactive film or a game, though game is different, conversation is it. So in the afternoon, we'll brainstorm the projects, look at that relative problems of interactive storytelling, look at interactive films and games which parallel these ideas. We'll see, I think, that conversation is something where interactive films that actually have live action actors have a huge advantage over CGI games, just because the complexity of emotion that you get in the face of a good actor is so difficult to, the technology is just not there yet to really to match that. If you're talking about emotions like, grief or despair, an actor can do things which are still very difficult to do in CGI. That will change over the course of the year, but that's where we are now. Okay, then finally, I thought you'd never ask. Finally, we get to the final session from me, which is we look at the infamous genre of choose your own adventure story. We'll also look at 26 other genres of interactive film. Don't worry, I've got a little written thing that I've done which describes the 27 genres of interactive film. So that I've already done that for you. We'll look a little bit at the choose your own adventure genre, which has been, I think, incredibly destructive for the whole idea of interactive films, because basically choose your own adventure stories suck. There's no way around it. They have all sorts of kind of fundamental problems. They run straight into the problem. They run straight into the inverted data pyramid of death problem. They run straight into the unmotivated choice problem. They just completely fuck up, if you'll excuse my language, with all those problems, which is why they suck. So Bandersnatch is a brilliant piece of work, but just to be clear, it's not who's the Black Mirror guy again? Charlie Brooker. Bandersnatch is not Charlie Brooker trying to make a great interactive film. Bandersnatch is Charlie Brooker making an ironic warts and all model of a crappy 1980s choose your own adventure book. And that guy, he's a genius, but he's all about irony, right? It's ironic. So what we'll do is we will go live onto Netflix, and we will play through the beginning of it, and we will see that it's got all the problems. It's got choices where you have no idea what to do. You don't care. You've got no motivation about the choice. You're just being given this arbitrary choice. Is it going to be sugar puffs that the guy eats or cornflakes? And that choice has no effect that has any importance anywhere in the film. It's just completely arbitrary piece of nonsense to make you think that it's interactive, but it's completely meaningless. I mean, it affects one shot way down the track, but there's no emotional power or importance to the choice. But still, we'll have a look at that. But we'll see that it was also incredibly successful in terms of, generating chat, generating interest, which of course is what Netflix cares about. Their aim is to get people to come to Netflix because they've heard about this thing and they can only get that thing on Netflix. And so it was very successful from that point of view, but it's still, it's still an ironic model of a ghastly genre. So then your idea is to pitch an interactive story idea for one of the genres of interactive film we have not yet looked at. Could be a choose your own adventure story, or any of the 27 genres. I will give you that document well in advance, so you will have time to have a think about it. We'll look, we'll brainstorm, we will see if they fall foul of the problems, and we'll look at existing interactive films which parallel the ideas which you pitch. Okay, so then that will be it from me. But actually not in the sequence, you also have 2 sessions with Cash de Queer. David, do you want to talk a little bit about what Cash is going to be saying? Or is that still slightly TBC?
You're muted.
David, you're muted.
Thank you for the note. So Cash is going to be sending me through his lesson plans now that his dates have been signed off. So I'll be sending through further information. Cash will be providing me with the syllabus of his 2 sessions, and then I will pass them on, obviously, to you, Martin, and on to the students. My plan is to do that for Thursday, Friday of this week.
Fantastic. Cool. Okay. But it's not, as I said, it's not Cash just at the end. I think Cash is going to be November the 2nd, and November the 26th or something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
So it'll be sort of sandwiched nicely in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I think that was what I really wanted to get across. What I would love to hear more about is about you and what you guys are interested in, because obviously we still have quite a lot of flexibility in terms of what we look at and talk about. But David, I know you're super busy, and I'm sure you know everything about these people already, so there's no need for you to hang on and listen to
absolutely
that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. It's a good segue for me to kind of say adios until later on. So Martin, obviously the guys are doing a project today. What's your plans in terms of reconvening to do that breakdown of what they've done in this first session? Is it 3:30?
Yeah, exactly. So 3:30, basically that's where we'll kick off. Yeah. So 3:30 we'll look at an example of an interactive film that works, and then we'll look at a methodology for writing interactive films, which you could also apply to concepts for games.
Cool. All right. Brilliant. Okay. Well, I'll see you a bit later on. So have a good rest of the day.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thanks, David. But don't go away, everybody. So first, we need to, if you would be kind enough to tell me something about yourself. So Jacob, I think I've got a basic outline. Pleased to meet someone from Malmö. I won't hold you responsible for the Swedish Red Cross ripping off my work. Though I must say, don't you agree, Jocelyn? The way that Jacob is laughing suggests a certain guilt. Jacob, have you ever worked for the Swedish Red Cross?
No. I've been close to, but no, I haven't.
Okay, fine, all right. But you know where they are. We could maybe hire you to sort of like carry out a hit job.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fine, all right. We probably better talk about that offline, though. Okay, I'll catch up with you later about that, Jacob. And if you read the story about a tragic murder of people from the Swedish Red Cross who were so innocent. This conversation never happened. Okay, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, fantastic. All right, so pushing on then. So Jocelyn, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Could you please tell me something about yourself?
Yes. So I'm from Switzerland.
Okay.
26 years old.
Right.
What is there about me? Every time I have to say something, I forget. I enjoy. Do you want to know what kind of style I like to write, or?
Yeah, and what sort of films you like, and also like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? What's your aspiration?
Okay.
Yeah.
So my
I
favorite.
didn't ask you that, Jacob. We'll come back to that set. So go ahead, Jocelyn. Yes.
So my favorite films are a bunch of different genres. I like thrillers. I like a lot of tech-based stuff. I am very interested in like hackers and stuff like that, like the cyber world.
Great.
But then again, I also like psychological thrillers, so I'm very keen on the human psyche. And I do enjoy time traveling stories. I like to write thrillers as well. I also like to write horror, but I just feel like I need to grow a bit more as a writer in order to write good horror. And in my future, I obviously want to be a screenwriter, but I don't want to just focus on screenwriting. I want to direct my own films as well. So I would love to do a lot of short film production or short TV productions in the future once I'm done with studying.
Okay.
And then we'll see.
And so one thing which is sort of applies to everyone, do you have a LinkedIn profile?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay, fantastic. So so great. Let's all link up on LinkedIn, because the thing is that, you guys are paying for this, and what I think is really important that, please feel free to contact me in the future if something comes up, so that we kind of stay in touch even after your centralfilmschool.com emails have, I don't know if they remain valid, but but that's great, because I think the thing is that one thing that shocks me quite often with sort of students when I talk to them is their social media profile is so low, is so small, and that, just bear in mind from hireability point of view, lots of old people in positions where they're hiring young people are terrified of digital, terrified of social media. And if you guys are the people who get that, then that's a huge reason to hire you. And so I don't know, I've never experienced this as a writer. With regard to writers, I have experienced casting where people have said, let's cast someone who's got lots of followers, because then the ad gets immediately that much more attention because the person is on social media. I haven't experienced this with writers, but I don't see why it wouldn't also be true. Which writer should we get? Oh, look, Jocelyn's got 25,000 followers on hip hop, or some new platform which is going to be invented in 6 months' time. So we'll hire her. Yeah, but obviously LinkedIn is not like that. It's more just kind of boring. But yeah. So you're on LinkedIn. Are you on other things as well? Are you on TikTok?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Okay. Fine. Delighted to hear it. Well, it would be nice to see some of that, because I think that is all part of who you are professionally these days.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, that's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Jacob, let's just zip back. So, LinkedIn.
No, I'm afraid not. But I am actually setting up an account right now.
That's what I like to hear. See, so fine. When I think, what the hell did Jacob get out of doing my course? At least I got you onto LinkedIn, and people get work through LinkedIn. I've got work through LinkedIn. I know lots of people who've got work through LinkedIn. Okay, so pushing on, Albert, the man of mystery. So please tell us about something about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm 29. This is my second bachelor's degree. My first one was in maths, and I used to work in
Oh,
finance for about 4 years.
that's why you don't want to show yourself.
Yeah,
You've got this
obviously.
fantastic sort of fintech super pad, and you're worried we'll, all ask you to give us a job. I see. How interesting. How intriguing. So, well, what a great background for all sorts of writing. Go ahead. So, what sort of stuff do you write, and what's your grand plan, and what do you want to do?
So I mean, at film school, I've been writing a lot of different genres just to kind of experience it and I guess. In the future, I want to write feature films, more towards like action, I guess. Which is funny because I still haven't written an action piece yet at film school, but it is what I want to do, career-wise. But I mean, I've written like thrillers, like what else have I written? It's just because I wrote thriller recently. That's why it's on my brain. We wrote a police drama that was fun. Horror. So I try and everything at the moment. But I do want to write action, sort of fantasy style action.
Fancy style.
Yeah.
What's fancy style action?
No, fantasy.
Oh, fantasy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, boring. I thought this was a whole new Albert had invented fancy.
No.
So fantasy style action. Okay, got it. Right. Sort of Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Maybe more modern. But yeah, that kind of style, I guess. Yeah, like The Raid is one of my favorite films, or The Raid 2 specifically is one of my favorite films.
Okay, fine, good. Well, look, I mean, Mercy of Justice is not as good as The Raid, okay?
Yeah.
No one is claiming one or two. But doing Mercy or Justice, the most brutally difficult experience of my entire career. There was a 5-day shoot starting at 3 a.m. each day and ending at 11 p.m. each day, which is how they shoot movies in Indonesia. And then at the end of the day, there would be a meeting where everyone would sit around and say what a shitty job I was doing. And then we would start at 3 o'clock the next morning. And of course, the production company went bust. But I think it's an interesting film, but it's very difficult to get people to look at it because so few people are interested in that genre in the sort of world that I normally inhabit. It's so far from being kind of a good work. But I did get insight on. So you've seen The Raid 1, right?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Is that the one with the terrible sort of first half, sort of drama first half, and then it like gets into the action? It's fantastic. Is that The Raid 1?
No.
No.
The Raid 1's the one where they're in the tower block.
Have you seen the prequel to The Raid?
No.
What?
Go online. There is a prequel. There's like the first, which they shot first. It's like the origin story before The Raid. I forget what it's called, and if I'm just dreamed this, then let's forget this ever happened. But no, the same guy, Welsh director, who married a ridiculously rich Indonesian woman. There's the first film, and the first half is drama, and it's horrifically awful. And then he gets into action, and it's great. And so that he learned from that with The Raid, with Indonesian films, don't do drama, just do action, because the
Mm.
action is great. And so there's no drama in the raid. There's
Yeah.
him looking at his wife. That's it. And then it's into the action. But you see the learning process if you look at the prequel movie. Anyway, Jocelyn, have you ever seen the raid?
I have not.
Fine. Okay. So I don't wish to be the person that forced you to watch the raid, but I mean, it's an amazing piece of work in many ways, and also it's so unusual as a piece of work from a developing world country, which kind of broke through into mainstream, which is great. Okay. So how fascinating, Albert, and what did your significant other and parents think about when you gave up your career in fintech from your degree in maths and decided to blow it all on moving into the world of film?
People were less than supportive, shall we say. Yeah, I was doing quite well in finance. So to give that up to go into film, yeah.
Albert, what's the best way to make a small fortune in film?
I don't know.
Start with a large fortune. You think it's a joke?
No, I'm laughing because it seems true.
Okay, well, fascinating. Okay, well, okay, great. All right, well, lovely to meet you, Albert, and please forgive me. You'll have the last laugh, okay? When you're there collecting your Oscar, you'll say, I would like to not thank Martin Percy. You told me, Anyway, okay, moving on. Jack, hello, welcome. Please tell us something about yourself.
I'm 22, live in London. I've just been film mad ever since my uncle showed me my first film. It was just then on, I was like, wow, I really want to write my own film one day.
Okay, and what was that film?
It's going to sound really, well, the guys will probably get a kick out of this because we talked about this particular franchise a lot, but he first showed me The Empire Strikes Back, my first film.
Right.
And Star Wars is a big franchise in my family, so.
Fantastic. So I gave Daisy Ridley her first job.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'll show you some footage of that next time. Yes, we hired her for a day for, I think she got 400 quid for the day. And she was good. She was good. That was about a year before she got cast in Star Wars. Yes. But okay, well, sure. No, what's wrong with going mad from watching Star Wars? So let me rephrase that. There is nothing wrong with deciding that you are going to be mad about films from watching Star Wars, especially The Empire Strikes Back, which is a fantastic example of the genre and of all sorts of things, and obviously is fairly unique in the way that it created a universe on the back of even just the first one created the universe. I sometimes say this, and this makes me sound extremely old, which is what I am, but I think I saw this first Star Wars movie on the first day it was released in Britain, which, when I say it to some people, it's like saying that I first went to Los Angeles on a stagecoach. But one thing is that even at the time, it was huge. It was absolutely gigantic, and I think just it's very. I'm certainly not aware of any film in the 21st century which has had anything like the same sort of. It's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's thinking about it. Sort of power. It's because obviously in the 20th century there was a lot less to do, and so it just had far more impact. And oh my god, so I do remember the triangular ship, whatever it's called, going boom over the top in the cinema, which was the first time that had actually been seen in London. It wasn't the premiere, but it was the first time it was seen by an actual paying audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, great. Okay. And so, Jack, what kind of films do you want to write?
I've been really trying to broaden, so I've been doing a lot of dramas lately.
Okay.
Dramas. I'm a bit of a history buff, so sometimes I think about doing historical pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, just films like that. I'm really interested with action, obviously, as well.
Right.
Yeah, they're the sort of areas that I'm really interested in. Coming of age stories as well, which I'm very passionate about.
Cool. Okay. And what about games? Are you a gamer?
Not really a big gamer. The only games that I'm really interested in are the ones that I feel like there's something there. So like Last of Us, I played, and then yeah, just personal, just games with characters that I'm personally really interested with, like the Arkham games. I loved. Spider-Man on the PS4. I love.
What about any of the Star Wars games?
Yeah, I played Fallen Order. I love that one.
Cool. Okay. I should have asked other people. Albert, games. Any games in particular?
Yeah, I mainly play phone games now. It's really sad. But
Well, no. You raise an interesting point. I mean, I think lots of kind of hardcore gamers, and certainly historically this was true. I mean, I remember like in 2005, 2006, there was absolutely this kind of universal assumption that games only had one way to evolve, which was to games which were more cinematic, were more complex, were more AAA, were more quadruple A, and that was the direction of the games industry. And they were completely blindsided by the explosion of casual gaming. And the thing is, you see, one thing that I would say that in terms of niches for interactive films, this is actually one great niche for interactive films because it's a way that you can have a casual game, but with cinematic values. So that it's a game, Real Talk About Suicide is not a game, well, it's a very serious game, but, it's 15 minutes. It doesn't require the kind of massive investment of time that the classic AAA console games do. So yeah, phone games. Yep. Anything else?
No, it's mostly it at the moment. I'm playing this game. It's based on a Japanese anime, and so it's basically just like a visual novel, essentially. Like it's just a story with pictures. So it's not really a game, but it
you
counts
see,
as a game.
again, Albert, I'm so happy to hear you say that because that's a huge way in for interactive films. That whole thing of sort of it's not a AAA cinematic universe type game, but it's a sort of casual, but it's interactive.
Yeah.
That you're not just sitting there as a kind of silent, passive viewer. You are doing something.
Yeah.
And that is fundamental. So what I would love. So what's the thing you're actually playing at the moment, or is it pornographic?
No, it's not.
I'm not judging. It's fine.
It's called Fate Grand Order, and it's based on a long-standing Japanese franchise, which is Fate. It's Fate, and then whatever the suffix is afterwards is like each different one. So this one's called Grand Order, and they're basically trying to save the world.
Oh, how interesting. Okay. Cool. Okay, and you play it on your phone, is that right?
Yeah, I play on my phone. Yeah.
It's like a paid for app or?
No, it's free. There's a system called gacha, which is like you get characters, but to get characters, it's like a lottery type thing, and you have to pay for like the lottery tickets essentially.
Okay, so it's free but in-game purchase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's basically just microtransactions.
So I can get it on my iPhone.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
All right, fine. Okay, I'll check that out. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Jocelyn, games. Do you play them?
I do play only one game. It's The Sims.
The Sim. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Do you know me and my partner, our social skills are so poor that we got the Sims and, and our Sims almost starved to death because at a fundamental emotional level, we just didn't understand what you had to do. We just didn't get this sort of, because both of us are like terrible at small talk and chat. And so we just didn't, yes, so our Sims almost died and then we sort of gave up. So I'm a great admirer if you can play The Sims. Is that like big or like you just played it every so often and you don't really care that much?
Well, I deleted it off my computer because I just can't focus on anything else if I have it on my PC. So
Okay.
download it every once in a while when I know I have a few days off. I can't have it on my computer otherwise because I don't know how to control myself. But I started playing it when I was like probably 10 or 12 years old with my best friend, and it was just our thing throughout our childhood. Starting from The Sims 1 up to now The Sims 4.
Right. I see.
And yeah, that's
Okay,
about it.
that's really interesting. I mean, I think that it's fascinating with The Sims that, as far as I know, and I'm not an expert on games, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that people have been trying and trying and trying to duplicate the success of The Sims, and they've never managed it. That's interesting, I think, partly because obviously gamers tend to skew sort of male and, conquest, destruction, all that sort of thing oriented. So, yeah, but yes, no, fascinating. Okay, great. And Jacob, sorry, any games, sir, that you play?
Yeah, definitely.
Shoot the Swedish Red Cross guy. Okay,
Yeah.
pleased to hear it. Okay, that's a game I would like to play.
Exactly.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
No, I've been playing during COVID. I was staying back at my family in Sweden,
Yep.
and they have a PlayStation 4. So I took chance to play some old games and new ones. The latest one I played was The Last of Us Part 2, which I found to be quite amazing, and very interesting as a cinematic game as well.
Sure.
I don't know. Have you played it?
I haven't. I'm aware of it, but no, I haven't played it. No.
It's they take a lot of risks with it, which I enjoyed really thoroughly.
Okay.
But
Great.
I am a bit more into that because maybe I was growing up on it as well, but I am more niched towards the sort of cinematic AAA games.
Right.
So they don't have to be AAA necessarily, but like games who try to tell a story somehow. And
Yes.
I'm really right now I'm really curious and interested in like player identification. Like, are we the character we play as the character we play? If that makes any sense.
Yes. No. Welcome to my life, Jacob.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. So what you'll thank you for raising that. So what you'll see. So the filmic equivalent of that is: do you shoot first-person point of view through the eyes of the hero, or do you shoot third-person point of view and look at the hero?
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I find interesting.
What you'll see is that with the film that we'll look at this afternoon, Lifesaver, what we'll see is we do both. Because the thing is that what I believe is that if you just shoot through the eyes, we're talking about films as opposed to games. If you just shoot through the eyes, you don't have the emotional connection, because obviously when you look at the world, you are conscious of your emotions. You are conscious of, are you crying? Are you happy? Are you stressed? Are you whatever? But if you just shoot through the eyes, you can't see any of that. So what we do is we keep cutting backwards and forth, backwards and forth, backwards and forth, in a way that we were assured would be a complete mess and would be impossible for people to understand. But it's wrong. It works perfectly fine because the through the eyes naturally leads you to interact. You naturally think, I am this person. I'm not just watching this person. I am this person, and so I'm going to make decisions on behalf of this person. But also then it becomes a question of genre that related to this question, and we'll come back to it, because this is a key problem. But this relates to the puppet master problem. The idea that if you are the character, then if you're making all these important emotional decisions for the character, then why should you care about the character? Because they just become a puppet. And so one key choice there is, what genre are you talking about? So survival genres are great because you can make decisions for the character, and they're sort of obvious decisions that any reasonable person would make. However, if you're talking about something like a love story, that's a very difficult genre to have an interactive character, because all the choices need to be motivated by the character's own desires. And if you start making choices for the character, you very quickly break the character becomes a puppet, and that is the puppet master problem. But we'll come back to that. But so anyway, player identification, hold that thought, Jacob. We will come back to that idea. And it will be great to see the perspectives you got on it from The Last of Us and so on. Cool. Okay, great. Well, look, I think that's fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Unless there's if anyone's got any questions, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sis. Jacob, you see the Swedish thing, yes. Creating problems, yes. Okay, fine. Sorry.
God damn it, yeah.
Go ahead. God damn you,
I was
go
just
ahead.
curious
Yes.
because we heard, I think it was last week on Friday, basically, that we heard that this module was going to be online.
Right.
And I'm curious, will that be so throughout the entire module, or will that change into us being in a classroom as well?
As far as I'm concerned, we do it all online. I love, this is the medium of the future, and I think we all need to get used to it. So if you have a deep personal desire to see me in 3 dimensions, I suggest go to a psychiatrist. But, no, seriously. So yeah, the idea is it's all online. I don't see, and the thing is that also the film sessions that we'll be doing, I think they will also give you an interesting perspective on collective film experiences that you can create, which are entirely online. So this is slightly a new topic, obviously, but as you know, there's been this thing called coronavirus. As you know, it's wiped out the world of cinema. As you also know, people who love cinema are always talking about the collective experience. Oh my God, sitting there in a cinema with all these other people. I believe that there is so much more that we can do to actually leverage that collective experience. I believe that with regular traditional films, which we hope will come back, when you sit and watch them in a cinema, generally all you want your fellow viewers to do is to shut up. If it's a comedy, okay, it's nice if they laugh. But I believe that traditional cinema doesn't do anything significant with the collective experience. All of the films that I will be showing you, which we will be playing together, except Real Talk About Suicide, because that's a single user game, but all of them leverage the collective experience much more strongly than a traditional linear film does. And I think that works really well online as well. So I think that experience should be far more useful to you than the experience of seeing me in 3 dimensions. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's more of the fact that we've sort of done this before, and I must say, even though I trust both in you and Cash as teachers, it's usually like you do prefer that sort of feeling when being in the same space and talking. But I do understand with the current situation that might not be.
Yes. You might not appreciate it when you give your significant others COVID because you caught it from me. That's the thing. We're in a second wave. It's real. It's out there. Let's not get into sitting in poorly ventilated spaces together. I believe strongly that it can be as good as or better than real life, face to face. And I base this partly on a course that I teach at the Royal College of Art, where I've done exactly the same course 3D and also online, and I found it just worked much better online. People haven't had to schlep all the way in. They're more awake. I also find people are actually more relaxed about talking about their own stuff somehow. That somehow, because they're not sitting there with all these other people watching, open up a bit more. Yeah. So, let's come back to this. If you're, after a couple of weeks, if you're still feeling a terrible need for kind of social contact in 3 dimensions, we can discuss further. But I think, from a health and safety point of view, I greatly prefer it. We should all greatly prefer it. I have a son who's at school, so I am a red hot infection risk, so but I don't think it's a problem. I think it's, if anything, it's an advantage. Yeah. Anything else?
Not for me, not that I can think of.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, see you back at 3:30. And lovely to meet you guys. And see you at 3:30, and we'll kick off.
All right.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks,
Great.
guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.